Chapter 2, Section 4, Ratios and Proportions. Ratio, the quotient of two quantities. Examples of how to write a ratio. 1 with a 2 in the middle, 1 over 2 like a fraction, or 1:2. You'll see me use 1 over 2 fraction 99% of the time. Okay? We just talked about these, but when do you use ratios? Miles per gallon. Oh, miles per hour. Miles per hours. Per hour, maybe. Revolutions per minute. That's the gauge in your car that you never look at unless your car's sick. Unless you drive a standard, maybe you look at it. Those are examples where you'll see those every day. Dollars per gallon, that could be another good one. Okay, let's talk about proportions. Where are my proportions? Okay, proportion. 2 equal ratios. Okay, it's 2 equal ratios. This is how you can tell if a ratio, if a proportion is equal. There are 3 different ways that you can do it. 1, okay, which is the black, you can actually find the decimal of 3/4 and 9/12. I need to take those like circles away for right now. Okay, 3/4 and 9/12 both divide evenly to 0.75 exactly, so you know that it is true. That's one way to tell if a proportion is true. Another way, or a method, is to cross multiply. That's what these circles were doing there. Okay, 3 times 12, is that equal to 4 times 9? 36 is equal to 36, so it is true. And there's one more method that you can use. You can actually reduce down the fraction as far as it'll go. Okay, does 9/12 reduce to 3/4? It does, therefore it is true. 3 different ways to tell if a proportion is true or false. If they do not end up equal, then they are false. Questions? Now, we're going to do something fairly interesting. We are going to use proportions for real life. Okay? Let me ask you, who drives to school? Let's use Daniel back there. I never used you for example. You're quiet back there. Daniel, what do you drive?
Cavalier.
Cavalier, how many miles per gallon do you get? You have no idea? Somebody last year drove a Cavalier and she said about 22 miles per gallon. Does that sound about right?
Something like that.
Some of them get 30?
It depends.
Depends what year it is and what engine it is. Do you have any ideas of like a big engine, small engine? What's that? Small engine. So you maybe get a little better, maybe 26 miles, 25 miles per gallon. We'll say 25. That sounds about average for a Cavalier, right? Okay, so Daniel, gets 25 miles, okay, per gallon of gas in his Cavalier. Okay? How many miles about do you drive to school?
Maybe 10.
10 miles? Takes you about 15 minutes to school. Okay, so 10 miles. So he drives 10 miles, okay, to school. How much money does Daniel pay a week just to drive to school?
Too much.
Too much, yes. Okay, well, let's figure it out using proportions. Okay, first of all, I have to figure out how many gallons of gas he uses to drive to school, right? Then I have to figure out how much gas costs, and then we'll figure out, well, he drives 25 miles, he gets 25 miles for 1 gallon, and he drives 10 miles, okay, this is miles, and this is gallons, but I don't know how many gallons of gas that would take. So I'm going to put a variable in its spot. And then to solve, I can use one of the 3 methods, but I would say the easiest one is to cross multiply in this case. Okay, so I have 25x equals 10. What do you got? Divide by 25, and what do you get? X equals 2x. Okay? use two-fifths of a gallon, okay, to drive to school one way. So you drive to school and then you drive back home every day. So he uses how many gallons of gas in a week? So wouldn't it just be 2/5 times 10? He's going to make 10 trips. Yeah, to school and then home is 2 trips times 5, 10. So it's 2/5 times 10. So I'm going to have, he uses 4 gallons of gas a week to come to school. He's lucky because he lives close. I'm very lucky. So now how much money is that going to cost him? Well, we're going to use another ratio. How much does gas cost right now?
$3.53 or something like that comes in.
$2.50? Where do you buy gas? $2.50?
$2.58.
What's $3.58?
It's $3.58.
Oh, yes, $3.58.
Okay, I was going to say, I need to
Everybody wants to drive the new.
Okay, yes, I'm thinking it's $3.58. I think in Philly this morning it was $3.49.
Just depends on where you live.
Yeah, it depends where you live. In Philly it was $3.49, but what most people don't pay attention to is what comes after the $3.49?
9/10.
9/10. So technically, what is it closer to? $3.50. Okay, so you're paying about $3.50 per gallon. $3.50 for 1 gallon of gas. Well, how many gallons are you using, Daniel?
4.
4. Okay. Well, $3.50 for 1 gallon. 4 gallons. How much money?
$14.
Oh, not times. Oh, excuse me. Right, I'm going to cross multiply, so I get 350 times 4 equals x, because x times 1 is x. $3.50 times 4? 14. So you spend $14 a week on gas. That's very, very unfair.
Well, like 40 minutes.
Yeah. About 25.
That's exactly what I think.
Now, just a little fun fact. How much do you think gas costs?
Probably like a quarter.
Quarter? How much do you think that is?
$1.40.
$1.19.
$1.19. I don't hear it. Somebody last year guessed exact.
89 cents.
Ooh, that's close so far.
87 cents.
86 cents. I remember the lowest, I think, was like 86 cents. So, like, I would fill on my tank of gas for like $12 for a tank of gas. Is that not the coolest thing ever? $12.
You know what? That's true.
I was so mad when it went up to like $1.25 and I had to pay like $25. I was just irate. And now it's $3.50. What a joke.
That's when you go back.
What a joke. Okay, let's move on. Now,
I say we start blowing up gas stations.
how far is it to Canton? Let me ask you this. How far is it to Canton?
About 26 miles.
25, I would say.
Well, from
Philly?
I don't know, Philly.
It's about 35 miles.
How come I can get to Philly?
What do you think, 30?
I can get to Canton like
It's
25.
not. It's 25 from Carrollton.
I'd say 25. Philly is like 20 minutes, 20 miles away from Carrollton, so.
Well, you got to think,
Okay,
you
I'm
can
gonna
take
say 30.
77 all the way, so it's going to be faster for.
I'm going to say 30 miles to Canton from, we'll say, one of the Philly X, Dover Philly X, something like that. Okay, 30 miles to Canton. All right. Mrs. Numbers goes to Canton, and she goes, I would say an average speed of 70 miles per hour. Okay, I usually set my cruise at about between 69 and 71. Okay, wherever it hits, right there. Okay, when I set my cruise. So, how long does it take Mrs. Numbers to get to Canton? Let's find out. So, I'm going 30 miles. Okay. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I do know that I'm going 70 miles in 1 hour. Let's figure out how long it's going to take me, okay? So 30 times 1 is just 30 equals x times 70 is 70x. Divide by 70, and I'm going to get 3/7. So it's going to take me 3/7 of an hour. Well, somebody multiply that by 60. 3/7 times 60, so I can find out how many minutes. Gives me 180 divided by 7. Gives me 22 minutes. Is that right? we have a calculator? Travis is getting this.
I can't rely on your picture.
I guess I could do it by the point it's about 23?
23.
I think I can kill that fly.
25.714,285.
25.7 what?
14,285.
So we'll say 26 minutes for Mrs. Numbers to get there. For me to get to Canton. Now, some of you go that same 30 miles
180 an hour.
going 85 miles per hour.
Right.
90?
Have you ever been over 100 numbers?
I passed the sheriff.
30 times 1,
Yeah, you.
85 times x. Divide. 30 divided by 85, Travis.
I think that'd be somewhere around 0.3529.
0.352.
2.
0.353.
0.352.
Okay. Multiply that by 60. 0.352 times 60.
21.176.
So 21 minutes, right? So, by increasing your speed 15 miles per hour, how much time did you say?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yes. Yes. Right. Yeah.
All joking aside, would you pay a $140 ticket for 5 minutes? All joking aside, all the funny stuff that you guys like to talk about, would you pay a $140 ticket for 5 minutes? No, I wouldn't either. Okay? You increase that by 15 miles an hour, okay? So suppose you're going now 100. Would you do it for 10? Would you go straight to jail, lose your license for 6 months, and pay a $207 fine or more, okay, for 10 minutes? 10 minutes. If I said, okay, I'll take your license away for 6 months, okay, I'll make you pay $100 and some fine, then I'll get you to Canton 10 minutes earlier. If I said that every time you went to Canton, would you do it? How many of you would be logical enough to say, oh, heck yeah, Mrs. Numbers, I give you that, all that, you can have my license for 6 months, I'll do all that for 10 minutes to get to Canton. Would you do it? Does it even make sense to drive that fast for 10 minutes? Does it even make sense at all? Not even close. It doesn't. If you're being honest with yourself, and you all joke aside, quit showing off in class, does it even really make sense? No! Mathematical sense, it makes none. We just showed you. It makes no sense whatsoever. But how many of you have done it? Well, yeah. How many of you done it? Usually probably all 7 of you that are laughing at this. Probably you. Okay? I am not
5 miles an hour in my life.
I am not trying to be silly. I used to drive like a maniac when I got my license. And then somebody showed me this and said, you know, by increasing your speed as much as you do when you drive to school, I had about 11, 12 mile drive, I saved 45 seconds by driving like an idiot, okay, or just driving the speed limit. I saved 45 seconds. I didn't know that until somebody sat down and showed me. Is it really worth it? How many times I almost killed myself?
You know how much gas you save?
No, and not the gas you save, is it really worth it? Heck no, I slowed down. I was like, I'm not going to be to school 45 seconds earlier driving like an idiot, okay? Think about it before you do it. It's really technically not worth the time. How many of you have ever blown past somebody going 80 in a 55 and then get to a stoplight and you're sitting right, they pull up right behind you?
Don't you hate that?
It's because it doesn't make mathematical sense. You actually only gain like 10 seconds on that car. Well, yeah, you sit at the light for 2 minutes. It doesn't make sense.
Felt like you're in Need for Speed.
Yeah, you can be immature about it, and you can talk about it like that, but technically, does it make sense? No, it's stupid. And you just told me it was. Okay, now we need to talk about one other thing. Suppose I have 12 inches, okay, and 1 foot. What's this ratio? 1 to 1. How do you know? Okay. You want to change everything, okay? You want to change everything to the same unit. If you can change it, change it. So in this case, I either want to change inches to feet or feet to inches. So it's either going to be 12 over 12, so 12 inches to 12 inches, or 1 foot to 1 foot. Change it to the same unit. Same thing for quarters and 25 cents and $1.50, which would be 25 over 150. Okay, cents and now unit rate. Okay, what is unit rate? That means when the bottom is 1. Okay, the bottom number is 1. That's unit rate. So if I tell you you can do, well, let's say out in the parking lot, what are there? 20 cars to every 15 trucks? 20 cars every 10 trucks, or 20 cars every 13 trucks, something like that.
A lot of people come from Carroll.
I know. So we'll look at 20 cars for every 13 trucks. Okay, out in the parking lot. How many cars per truck? Well, how would I find for the unit rate? Well, you want the bottom to be 1. So what do I have to do to get the bottom to 1?
About 13.
Divide by 13. Well, 20 divided by 13 gives you what? It's not going to give you an even number. It's going to be 1.7.
1.53.
1.538. So there's 1.5 cars or for every 1 truck out in the parking lot. That's unit rate when the bottom is 1. Okay? Any questions? You gotta slow down a little bit. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. But maybe it'll save one life, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.